Welcome back. Today we are going to learn how to find slope from, and we'll be dealing with graph, table, order pairs, and equations. So on this side we've got our slope guided notes that we've already put in there, and on the page before that we've got our just basic information on the 4 different types of slope there. We've got our coordinate plane foldable there. So you're going to take this next page in your journal. We're going to fold it hot dog half. That gives us a nice straight line to divide our page in half. And then I've got wide ruled paper here, and so if you give it about that much space, it gets pretty close to dividing it into half. So we've got 4 sections here. So you're going to take your piece of paper that you got when you came in the classroom, and we're going to cut on the dotted lines. Then we're going to take our glue. We're going to go ahead and put those in there before we lose all those little bitty pieces. Okay, so as you add glue, make sure that you've glued it in such a manner that you can flip all these little pieces up and we can add information underneath them. Okay, so we can still sort of read our I can find slope from. So let's look at the graph portion first, and now we need to zoom in to just the graph. So looking at this graph, what I need to start with is 2 exact points on this line. So right where the crosshairs, where the line goes through an exact corner. So it looks like that could be one. That one looks like one. It may be more like that. So let's check it out. So if I rise from the point on the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces. 7 is my rise. Then from there, trace that line over to the other point. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is my run. I think that looks good. So if we were able to extend our line, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then run 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, it would go through that point, so it would be 7 over 4. Okay, so right here was another point, that big black blob. So our rise is 7, and our run was 4. So if we'll flip our little flap up, let's write down the procedures for which we just followed to find our slope from a graph. The first thing we did was identify 2 exact points on the line. Okay. Starting with the point on the left, trace the coordinate plane line vertical line until you're even with the next point. So that could be a rise or that could be a fall. Okay, that's going to tell us the rise. Okay, and count those spaces. So that's vertical change. It's rise, vertical change. Next, we traced the coordinate plane line, and we traced the horizontal line until you get to that next point, to the next point, the point on the right. This tells us our run, which is our horizontal change. So some other things that you should know. M is our rise over our run when we're talking about finding slope from a graph, or we could say slope is the vertical change over the horizontal change. M is the variable that we use for slope. Some other little things that you should know is if, in this case, we had 7 over 4. And it's a positive slope because it is increasing from the left to the right. It's going up. So it's a positive slope. So some things you need to know. Because it is a ratio, we need to leave it improper because we're dealing with only 2 numbers, not 3. So leave it improper. And I will say, check your sign and compare it to the direction of the line. Students frequently forget. They may get the slope correct, the numbers correct, but they may not have the correct sign because they've forgotten to put a negative sign there. So make sure that you compare the direction of that line. Make sure if it's a negative that you put a negative sign there. That's all we have for finding slope from a graph. Thanks for listening.